Good evening and welcome to this regular scheduled meeting for the Board of Education for Tuesday, August 15th. If everybody could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Grigsby. Here. Mrs. McCarthy.
Here.
Mrs. Saxon.
Here.
Mrs. Tamira.
Here.
Mr. Vaca.
Here. Finalization of the agenda. Is there anything to add or remove?
The agenda is final as presented.
Thank you. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the written summary of the regular minutes for the meetings on July 18th, 2023.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Tamira, second by Ms. Saxon. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Tamira.
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon.
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby. Yes. Mrs. McCarthy.
Yes.
Mr. Vaca.
Yes. All right, we'll move right into the superintendent's treasurer's.
Okay, well, we are looking forward to the start of school next week. We will welcome back all of our students, and we're going to talk about just how many on Thursday of next week. So Mr. Pritt would like to give us, as he always does at this time, an enrollment report and where we currently stand as a district.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So I feel like every time I give this, I start with the same words, which are we are growing. So it's been a productive summer as we would expect it to be. So as of right now, and the numbers I'm going to give you do not include kindergarten enrollments when I talk about new enrollments, because we know that every kindergartner for the most part is new to us. Outside of our kindergarten enrollment, we've had 151 new enrollees so far this summer. We have had about 75 withdrawals, so that brings that number back down a bit. The next piece, so to keep in mind, is we still have about 60 parents who have said, I am registering students that just haven't completed the process yet. So we know that we're going to be up somewhere, around that 100 student mark over the course of the summer itself. So to put all this into perspective for you, at the beginning of the 22-23 school year, when I stood here last year, our enrollment was sitting at 4677. As of this very moment, it's 4737. We know we've got another 50 or 60 students that are going to join us. So you can picture that number being just shy of 4,800 is where I anticipate that we'll actually start the school year, which will put us up about 130 students over this time last year. The other thing that you're going to want to keep in mind is that over the course of the school year, our pre-K program is going to build. So last year, our pre-K program ended this year with about 234 students. Right now, we're sitting about 170 students. So I anticipate that we're going to pick up another 60 in that program as we cap out over the course of the school year. So realistically, it would not be out of the realm of possibility to end the school year around 4,850 students, which would put us up again 175 students over where we were this time last year, which has been pretty standard growth for us over the last several years. And I tell people it's a great problem to have because, one, people don't move to places that don't have good schools, but we know the challenges that provides us for our buildings, for our facilities that are already in many cases overcrowded. And in particular, our high school, I know we've added mobile units there, but to put this in perspective for you, last year's high school enrollment at this time is 1419. This year it's 1441, so we've added about 22 kids. Which at a high school is probably an entire classroom full of them. And then realistically, as we look down the road, that number is probably going to pretty quickly approach 1,500. And the reason I feel confident in saying that is when I look at where our enrollment is for our high school and where it is for our middle school and our elementaries, the classes that are coming in, with the exception of 2 grade levels that are in the early elementaries, are considerably higher than anything we have at the high school. Our 8th grade, which will be next year's 9th grade without growing any, are at 375. And our current 7th grade, which has 2 years to reach the high school, are actually at 386 right now. So we have the potential to enter, I would say in 2 years, with an entering class of about 400 students. So challenges are not going away. The needs are not going away. So it is something that I know that you've been forethought in attacking with some additional spaces and facilities, but the need is going to remain in the future. Great problem to have. We know that once the school buses start doing their routes around town, that we generally pick up some additional students when parents recognize, hey, school's starting soon, I should get them registered. So I'm not sure that doesn't still happen as well. So I can give you a better idea once we get into the school year and we've pulled, all of our withdrawals out. I will tell you, I think this is probably a pretty close number. Our secretary started a little earlier this year with us in the summer. So I think a lot of the people that have withdrawn and have told us are already out of the system. So I anticipate numbers will only build from here. Do you have any questions?
Not so much about enrollment, but with those anticipated class sizes in our high school. Remind me, how many students was that building built for?
High school was built for 900. With the additional 8 classrooms, the mobile classrooms we put in last year, soaks up about another 200. So you're looking at probably 1,100 students capacity. So sitting here right now, realistically, we're 350 students still over capacity. And that's even with the additional classrooms that were added last school year. So it's going to be an issue into the future, short of having a new facility.
More trailers there as well.
In all likelihood, I could see that occurring in the not too distant future.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you for your time.
Any announcements this evening?
Okay, so from the school district administrative perspective, we have a pretty significant kickoff event this Friday that we are really excited about. But prior to that happening, we have Frosh Fest happening at the high school from 2 to 4 p.m. on Friday. And that will be for all of our incoming freshmen, and they will have the opportunity to travel to classrooms, see where they will be going throughout the day, get familiar with going outside to the trailers, if they have classes out there, and just learn a little bit more about what it means to be a ranger at North Ridgeville High School. And that will be led by several administrators and staff members at the high school. That will follow right into the North Ridgeville Military Appreciation and Kickoff Night. So we are expecting from 4 to 7 the opportunity for all of our community to come out to not only celebrate our military professionals, but also our first responders, Touch a Truck, and lots of other organizations like the Chamber of Commerce and some other local school supportive businesses that are out and about and helping us as we then move into Ranger Stadium to kick off our first home football game, actually first football game of the season against North Olmsted. So it is going to be a fun-filled, packed day. The one thing I will mention that I think kids are most excited about is that opportunity to step foot on a school bus and get their first day of school signs. So first day as a first grader, second grader, signs that are normally given out will be there. And so we're excited to welcome back all of our young Rangers.
So the kickoff event is for all families and students,
Everyone.
everybody in the community, or, okay, and from 4 to 7 in front of the high school.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Exciting.
Anything else this evening? Well, I would like to wish you a happy birthday. That's an announcement worth mentioning. I'm a gentleman, so we'll just leave it at happy birthday. All right, we'll move into the hearing of the public. Here's an opportunity for the public to address the Board of Education. If you did not sign in, please make sure you do that before you leave. But when you come to the podium, tell us your name and your address if you would not mind.
Good evening. Thanks for letting the public speak. Unfortunately, I'm back again 1 month later to discuss the same issue as before, busing and transportation, specifically to those of us that are outside of the, or inside of the 2 miles, outside of the increase of the 1.5 miles, that change that was made due to the failure of the bond issue in May. Just want to read a little message that I sent both to the mayor last night and the city council, understanding that they do not have any direct action in this. However, wanted to make them aware of concerns that we have in our community. I'm sending you this brief message out of concern for the North Ridgeville City Schools children. due to the recently rejected bond issue in May, the North Ridgeville City Schools Transportation Department has reduced the busing for grades 3 through 8 to the state minimum of 2 miles, which will impact about 360 students. As a result of this change, I believe the safety will be compromised for those students who will be required to walk to school when alternative transportation provides difficult for working parents. Attempts to work this out with the school district have not been receptive. For example, several other families in Wildwood Estates, including my own, face significant obstacles for children to overcome. These would include Chestnut Ridge Route intersection, the Norfolk Southern Railroad tracks, and the I-80 Turnpike overpass. These roads do not have sidewalks nor street lights to allow safe travel for students walking to school. I believe you are aware of these changes. However, I'm not aware of your added safety services plan for students that must walk to school. If a student is required to walk the 2-mile distance, crossing the above stated obstacles, it will take 40 minutes. School starts at 7:40 a.m. For example, the sun does not rise until 7:55 a.m. on December 21st. Therefore, their entire walk will be before sunrise. Concerned parents in Wildwood feel this is unacceptable. To date, the school has not been receptive to my efforts to resolve this matter. The only response provided so far was there was not enough seats in the bus that passes each day in front of my home. I would respectfully ask the council to review this matter in hope of providing additional resolution and address the concerns raised. Lastly, for the sake of our children, please do everything in your power to promote the new school bond issue in November. So I have a list of questions here. I would like to ask them all. I would like all answers in writing to the email addresses provided on the sign-in board. So the first question is, what is the state's specific definition of a student house location and the school drop-off location? Because that's a bit vague to most of us. What is the exact measuring points? Does this definition differ currently depending on what grade the student is in? Since students in the earlier grades and the later grades at NRAC are on different sides of the facility, is that drop-off point a different location? Is there still a bus currently going through Wildwood Estates for grades 3 through 8? If there is a bus, what is the current bus number? What is the route number? What is the bus seating capacity? And what is the current route capacity? Secondly, as most of you know, most of us in Wildwood attempted to file transportation variances for our children to be outside of the 2-mile mark. While these were submitted, they have all been denied. They have all been denied based on saying that the route is full. Is the route completely at capacity of that school bus at this current time? My next question is, if the current route is at full capacity and an additional student moves into the neighborhood or into that route in general, how will the school get that student to school? Will you consider reworking your routes with your school bus software to pick up these additional children? I want to know who is responsible for crossing guards to be stationed at critical locations, such as Chestnut Ridge Route intersection, the Norfolk Southern Railroad tracks, and the Turnpike overpass. What is the cost per student for transportation? The double set of Norfolk Railroad tracks is private property, and there is not a designated pedestrian crosswalk across those railroad tracks. It's only the street. This one here is alluded to now based on what I read previously. Has the city and police departments been notified about potential additional safety services required for students that are forced to walk on sidewalks, crosswalks, and adequate lighting? If the November school bond issue passes, will the 1.5-mile busing distance be reinstated? If it is reinstated, specifically by what date? Will the busing distance be advertised and explained to all parents related to the bond issue so that people can vote on the bond issue with all the adequate information they need? Because if busing is a significant concern, that could be an issue that people need to weigh on before they may cast their ballot. Beyond that, I have one more. You walk outside this building, there are parking spots close to the curb that all have designated restricted parking signs. Why are they not enforced? These are all the questions I have at this time. No, I have one more. Are any of you aware of the school travel plan guidelines set up by the state. And then we worked with the state to look at the walking paths, how to get to school, and to recognize the safety concerns that we have. The state will do it. You have to put a committee together and they will look at the entire route and all the concerns. And there are a lot of comments in here. And I can get a copy of this to you guys. The fact that the maximum distance is 2 miles is for a purpose. The 2 mile mark is what is considered what people can easily walk. So that's how the 2 mile mark got set as the minimum for busing. However, in certain instances, when you do this study, school busing for children within the walking distance, if there are major barriers or hazards, this is often called hazard busing, and busing is provided for students in that area. And I would tend to believe anyone that lives south of the turnpike overpass and or the railroad tracks that are within the 1.5 miles, outside the 1.5 miles within the 2 mile mark would fall under that category. Lastly, if students do choose to walk or ride to school, is there additional walk or walk or ride their bikes to school? Is there adequate bike racks now for these additional children that are going to get to school in that manner? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I get those list of questions so we have those? Do you mind? Can I have the paper copy of your questions?
I would like you not to read the bottom part. No, I would like to. I will forward it to you.
We'll forward it to you.
Thank you.
Just that way we can address each one of them.
Yes.
Anybody else this evening? All right, we'll move into the consent agenda. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda resolution as presented.
Second.
Kara, second by Ms. McCarthy. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby,
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon,
Abstain.
Mr. Vaca.
Yes. Finance audit report, Ms. McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Vaca. We have one item for consideration this evening under our finance audit report. We have a resolution to approve the financial reports for July 2023. I move to approve this report in one reading.
Second.
Moved by Ms. McCarthy, second by Ms. Saxon. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby,
Yes.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mr. Vaca.
Yes. Human Resources Report, Ms. Saxon.
We have a number of items in the Human Resources Report: 3 support staff resignations, 9 support staff appointments, 2 support staff substitute contracts, 25 NREA supplemental contracts, 1 non-NREA supplemental contract, 5 certified staff contract adjustments, 5 support staff contract adjustments. I move to approve the Human Resources items in one reading.
Moved by Ms. Saxon, second by Ms. Tamira. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Vaca.
Yes. All right, it is recommended that the Board of Education adjourn this regular meeting.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Tamira, second by Ms. Saxon. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Vaca.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.